Part 2. And no doubt, said Dupin, filling the room with a perfect cloud of pipe smoke. You are generally considered the most capable man available for such a delicate task. Some people may have expressed that opinion, said the prefect with a small, satisfied smile. Then, what steps have been taken? I asked. What has been done so far? A great deal, said the prefect. My first step was to search the minister's home very thoroughly, and of course without his knowledge. That was, naturally, the greatest difficulty. It was absolutely essential that he should not know we were searching. I had been warned, in the strongest possible terms, that giving him any reason to be suspicious would be extremely dangerous for the lady, for the investigation, and for me personally. But, I said, your men are experienced at this sort of thing. The Parisian police have conducted such searches before. Many times, agreed the prefect, and that long experience gave me considerable confidence. I also had some natural advantages in this particular case. The minister is frequently away from his home at night. He goes out often, sometimes for the entire night, returning only near dawn. His household staff is small, fewer people than you might expect for a man of his position. The servants sleep in a separate part of the building, far from their master's own rooms. And they are, how shall I say this charitably, they are not difficult to manage. They have certain weaknesses. I have special keys that can open virtually any lock in Paris. For 3 full months, nearly every single night, I personally participated in the search of his house. My professional reputation is entirely at stake in this matter, and the reward being offered is very, very large. So I searched with every ounce of energy I had, and I did not stop until I was completely and utterly certain of one thing. The letter is not in the minister's house. It is simply not there. But, I said, thinking carefully, is it not possible, even granting that the minister still has the letter, that he keeps it somewhere other than his home? Perhaps in another location entirely, an office, a bank, a trusted friend's house? It is just barely possible, said Dupin, considering the question. But think about the political situation. The letter must be instantly available to him at all times. He may need to produce it, or to destroy it at any moment, at very short notice. Having it stored somewhere at a distance would make it useless as a weapon. The power the letter gives him depends entirely on having it close at hand. Then the letter must be in the house, I concluded. And it is certainly not on his person. You have established that. Correct, said the prefect. We had him stopped in the street twice, disguised as ordinary robbery attempts. He was examined very carefully and thoroughly on both occasions. Nothing was found. You wasted your time with those searches, said Dupin, with calm and absolute certainty. The minister is not a foolish man. He would have anticipated such attempts from the very beginning, He would certainly not carry the letter on his body. Not exactly a fool, the prefect admitted. But then he is a poet, and I have always considered that to be only one small step away from being a complete fool. Perhaps, said Dupin, after a long and thoughtful silence, his pipe glowing gently. Though, I confess, I have, myself, been guilty of a little poetry from time to time. Tell us the details of the search, I said, room by room if you can. With pleasure, said the prefect. He sat up straighter in his chair, evidently pleased to describe work he considered well done. We worked slowly and very methodically. We were in no hurry. We had adequate time, and we used it carefully. We examined the entire building one room at a time, spending several nights in each room. We began, as always, with the furniture. We opened every drawer in every piece of furniture in every room. Every single one. A properly trained police officer cannot be deceived by a so-called secret drawer we know. From experience and careful measurement, the exact amount of space that ought to be inside each cabinet or writing desk or chest of drawers. If any space is unaccounted for, if any panel of wood is even slightly thicker than it ought to be, we detect it at once. There is no such thing as a secret drawer to us. The cushions of every chair and sofa, we probe them with long, fine needles. Every cushion, every chair, in every room. The tops of the tables, we removed them and examined the space beneath. We checked the hollow sections of chair legs, of table legs, of bedposts. Every joint, every hinge, every connection point in every piece of furniture was examined under a powerful magnifying glass. A single grain of wood dust, the smallest, freshest crack in a glued joint, the faintest trace of recent disturbance, we would have detected it instantly. Nothing escaped our attention. Nothing. The mirrors, yes. We checked behind every mirror, between the glass and the wooden backing. The mattresses and all the bedclothes. The curtains, the carpets, the upholstered sections of the walls. Every soft surface that could possibly conceal something. Then, we moved from the furniture to the house itself, the physical structure. We divided every wall, every floor, every ceiling into numbered sections, small, carefully measured sections, and examined every one systematically with the magnifying glass. We included the two houses immediately next door as well, with the full cooperation of their residents. "The neighboring houses!" I exclaimed, astonished. Yes, we had the full authority of the law, and the reward made every effort entirely worthwhile. In the garden, all the paths are paved with brick. We examined every brick, pressed and tapped each one, checked the moss growing between them. The moss had not been disturbed, and the library, the books, every one. We opened every volume and turned every page individually. We measured the thickness of every book cover with a precision instrument. We probed several newly bound books with needles to check whether anything had been inserted during the binding process. We checked the wallpaper, the paper on every wall in every room. We searched the cellars with lamps. I tell you, there is not a single inch of that house, not 1 square inch, that has not been personally examined and found to contain nothing. After a long pause, I said quietly, "Then you have been making your search in the wrong place. The letter is not there." "I am very much afraid that may be so," said the prefect miserably. He looked like a man who has worked very hard and achieved absolutely nothing. "Dupin, I have come to you precisely because I do not know where else to turn. What do you advise?" "Search again," said Dupin simply. The prefect stared at him. His face showed disbelief. "That is completely pointless. I am as certain as I have ever been of anything in my life. The letter is not in that building." "Then," said Dupin, turning back to his pipe, "I have no other suggestion to offer you." There was a pause. Then Dupin asked, quite casually, "But you do, of course, have an accurate description of the letter, its external appearance?" "Oh, yes, a very detailed one." The prefect took out a small leather notebook and read aloud a thorough description of the letter, its exact dimensions, the quality of the paper, the color and style of its seal, the handwriting on the address, the particular marks and folds on its exterior. He read every detail with great precision and care. Then he put the notebook away, stood up slowly, and left us. He seemed heavier, more defeated, more discouraged than I had ever seen him in my life. The door closed behind him. About a month passed. Then the prefect paid us another visit. Things were much as they had been before. We were sitting in the same room with the same quiet atmosphere, our pipes lit, the lamp burning low. He settled himself into his usual chair and made conversation about small matters for a while. Then I spoke. "Well, Monsieur G, the letter. What news? Have you finally accepted that it is impossible to outsmart the minister?" "Confound him," said the prefect, with sudden feeling. "Yes, I made the search again, as Dupin recommended. It was exactly as I expected. Completely, absolutely useless. Not a trace." "Tell me," said Dupin, speaking slowly, drawing on his pipe in a thoughtful and leisurely way, "how large is the reward now? The sum being offered for the recovery of this letter?" "It is very large indeed. I would prefer not to give you the precise number, but I will say this. I would personally be willing to write a check for 50,000 francs to the person who recovered that letter for me. The situation has become far more urgent and dangerous since I visited you last month. The reward has been doubled. Even if it were tripled, even if it were 10 times the original amount, I could do no more than I have already done. I have reached the absolute limit of what is possible. Dupin drew slowly on his pipe. You know, G, I think perhaps, just perhaps, you have not quite exhausted all your possibilities. You might, I believe, try one more thing. Do you happen to know the story of Dr. Abernethy? Abernethy? No, I don't. I don't want to know about Abernethy. Tell me something useful. A famous physician, a brilliant one, but not known for his patience with foolish people. Once, a very wealthy but very stingy man decided he wanted medical advice without paying for it. He arranged to sit beside the doctor at a private dinner party and, in the course of ordinary social conversation, carefully described his own symptoms, but pretending, all the while, that the symptoms belonged to a completely imaginary friend of his. Let us suppose, said this rich and stingy man, that a friend of mine experiences such and such symptoms. What, in your professional opinion, doctor, would you advise this friend to take? Take? Said Abernethy. He should take advice, naturally. Proper, professional advice. And he should pay for it. The prefect looked slightly uncomfortable. He shifted in his chair. I am perfectly willing to take advice, he said stiffly, and to pay for it if necessary. I would genuinely, honestly give 50,000 francs my own money to anyone who could resolve this matter for me. In that case, said Dupin, quite calmly, and to my absolute and complete astonishment, he reached into a desk drawer and produced a checkbook. You may as well write me a check for exactly that amount right now. When you have signed it and given it to me, I will give you the letter. To be continued.
Подпишись, пожалуйста, или хотя бы поставь лайк. Один лайк не меняет мир, но меняет путь того, кто делится смыслом.